call the meeting order. Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everybody, and as we decided a couple of weeks ago, Commissioner Stephen, you have the opportunity for prayer or silent prayer, whatever you choose, sir.
All right, I'm just going to have us do a moment of silence, but I do want to just remind people of when they were at the Constitutional Convention and they were having trouble coming to a resolution of the issues at the Constitutional Convention. Benjamin Franklin suggested that we should have a prayer, and after they engaged in prayer, they were able to come to a resolution. So, and verse he cited was, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. So join me in a moment of silence.
Whatever. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Okay, start a roll call. Today we start with Commissioner Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith, I'm here. Commissioner Willie Dove.
Here.
Commissioner Vanessa Reed.
Here.
I can't get this right. Commissioner Jeff Culberson.
Here.
All righty, public comment. The items we have for comment are two of them there at the end of the meeting, so I'll go, unless there's someone else in the audience. Okay. Then we'll move right on down to the line of administrative business. A couple things I want to bring up before I hit Marco. Reminder, most people got back with Becky, but I think it was majority of the folks said the joint meeting with the city of Leavenworth is going to be on the 13th at 6 p.m. at their place. That's May 13th, yeah, at 6 p.m. at their place. So I asked that, like we've done in the past, it's been a few years, that if you got agenda items you'd like to have discussed, they got an hour for the regular meeting, I believe. Just get those up to Mark, and we can take a look at that. If there's something in particular you want to discuss with them. These meetings that we've had in the past, we've only done it one time, 3 or 4 years ago. They've all gone very well. We got to sit eyeball to eyeball and have good conversation. That's what I'm hoping this meeting will come up. Also, there's a few of us attending the KCCA conference that's running, I think, next Monday through Wednesday or Sunday through Wednesday. I'll be going down for a couple of days, but I'll be back for the meeting. I can't let Commissioner Stephen chair anymore, so I'll be back by Wednesday morning. Keep control. Is anybody else going to be attending that? Mr. W, you attending?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll be attending that meeting.
Okay, Vanessa, you
also.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Just information putting out there. Let's see. I think that's about all I have right now. Mike, did you have anything you wanted?
Yeah, I did. Wanted to bring it up with county councilor. We had visited about a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago now, whatever it's been, about the fact that under Kansas law that the horse tripping is illegal under Kansas law, but steer tailing is not. And in Sedgwick County, I guess they adopted a resolution dealing with that, and I was wondering about getting that on our agenda. And could you just kind of reflect on what that resolution does?
Yes, Commissioner, in Sedgwick County, they did adopt a resolution that pertains to it. They changed their code. So right now under Kansas law, if cruelty to animals or is an activity that's reasonably, that will definitely cause harm to the animal, so you would have to show that a reasonable person would know that's going to harm them in order for it to be considered animal cruelty. Sedgwick County changed the wording of it. They essentially mirrored state law, but they added the provision that activities that are reasonably certain to result in activity that could harm to the animal would be illegal, and then they specifically call out the bull tail pulling. So if the commission wants to proceed in that, we could adopt something similar here.
I'd like to see a resolution drafted, and then we have a chance to discuss it here.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
We're just bringing it to get back to us so we can have a discussion. No decision's being made. I have no problem with that. The other commissioners do not. Okay. All right.
Is there a time frame you'd like to see it back on the agenda?
Well, a couple weeks or
Okay.
whatever. According to your schedule. I don't want to press you.
We can definitely have it in a couple weeks. I just didn't know
Okay.
if you needed it next
Okay.
week. So.
Okay. Thanks, Misty. Anything else, Mike? Willie? No. Vanessa?
On Tuesday, April 22nd, we have that there's a workforce partnership meeting, but it was canceled. So
Okay. Yeah, okay. Mark, do you have anything for the group? Okay, very good. Moving right along, I'll go into a consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
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 That's passed. Thank you. Now we're going to go into formal board action. Board Order 2025-4 declaring the property located at 2210 Ottawa Street in Leavenworth, Kansas 66008 to be imminent hazard to the public and uninhabitable. And what we need to do now is consider a motion to adjourn as a Leavenworth County Board of County Commissioners to convene as a Leavenworth County Board of Health.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
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 Okay, open public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this? Yeah, come on, if you come up here, introduce yourself, tell us where you live, and go ahead.
My name is Daniel Esterling, and I'm a contractor, and I've offered to give some help to Mr. Haddock to get that cleaned up. We'll be doing it right away so that you don't have to have this burden on the city.
Okay.
I just got on board with him, so I didn't know about this meeting until just yesterday, so I'm not prepared.
Okay.
But just to assure the you guys that that we will handle it and it won't cost the city.
Okay. Thank you for, Mike.
I was just wondering if we could have a backgrounder on this from the attorneys.
You said you wanted background?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, of course. So this is a property at 2210 Ottawa Street, Leavenworth, Kansas. And actually, I'm going to turn this over to Planning and Zoning because they know more about.
And I think we've had some issues with the microphones. Make sure your microphones are on.
It's on.
Yeah, because I have railroad ears myself.
Go ahead, John. You'll keep talking if you don't get
Talk
started.
loud.
Go ahead.
So you want a brief history of it. Basically, this property has been in some sort of violation based on county regulations, whether it be the zoning and subdivision regulations, sanitary code, since around 2015. Looking at aerials, it may have been even further back than that. Been out of court a few times. We did just finish up a court case here within the past couple months. On March 13th or 14th, overnight, there was a fire, destroyed the primary residence on the property. We received complaints that there may be people still residing within the burnt-up structure or the shed that was on the property, which does not meet the definition of a dwelling and is not suitable for a dwelling. So on March 20th, a sign was posted on both the home and the shed stating that they are unfit for human habitation, and we are asking that you declare the property to be of imminent hazard to the public, a public nuisance, and uninhabitable until the structure has been torn down or remodeled in compliance with all county regulations and policies.
Okay.
At what point does the county have to assume responsibility for the property?
The rules for cities and counties are substantially different as it relates to condemnation actions, what you're speaking about. It is possible to do it. However, those funds cannot be assessed to that particular property. So it would have to be public funds expended for the purposes of demolishing those things. And it would take additional action from this body to accomplish that. Today's action simply marks it as a public nuisance, doesn't allow habitation of any of the structures on site until such time as the owner either brings it into compliance or it's demolished.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Any other things for?
How long does the owner have to bring it within compliance?
Typically, it's a 14-day window period for them to submit a timeline of action. We haven't established that via this regulation, depending on what the homeowner brings to them. It's a reasonable compliance time. So we expect within 14 to 30 days that Kyle will get that report. If not, we leave this in this open situation so we can bring back to you and react to those actions.
In other words, it just starts the process to make them aware they're going to have to get something done. And, one gentleman was talking about tearing it down or whatever. It's nothing else than that right now. Opportunity to start meeting with y'all to see what is there, it can be resolved.
And also to make sure that none of the structures are being used for habitation.
Exactly. Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I actually have a question for the owner or the contractor.
Yeah, come on.
One of them up. One or both of you could come up. Basically, I have a question of how long do you think it would take you to get this property raised or cleaned up?
Well, we will be out there right away cleaning, and I'm putting together some people. Some of this is going to have to be done by people who donate some time. Their house is their home, and they run uninsured. So, but I'm going to be submitting plans to rebuild, and that'll be done in accordance basically with what he said. Within the next 30 days, we can have that put together for you guys.
Okay.
But cleaning it within the next week or two the site will be cleaned up where it don't look so bad and there won't be any dangers out there.
Okay. Because it would go a long way cleaning it up to approving, what kind of...
I have my truck and some trailers and a few people that will do that
Good.
this weekend.
Good.
And you'll assure us that there's not going to be anybody in the...
Now, I will probably on-site somebody in a different... I'll take my camper out there or something if I'm going to be there working. Because this is something I'm doing on pro bono. I'm doing it outside my regular work. So,
John, are you allowed to have on site?
Only if there's a building permit that's been issued for a single-family home. You can't use the site as a campsite until you get it cleaned up. So,
we won't do anything.
Okay.
outside of what's on the
Okay.
site.
Just one clarification. That's so you know. Okay. Jeff, anything else?
No.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, still open public hearings. Anything else? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Consider a motion to approve Board Order 2025-4 declaring the property located at 2210 Ottawa Street, Leavenworth, Kansas, 66048 to be of eminent hazard to the public and uninhabitable.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
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 Did you vote yet?
Aye.
Oh, okay. I thought I couldn't hear you. Jeff?
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay, just need to make sure you need to get with these folks down the line. Okay, consider a motion to adjourn as the Leavenworth County Board of Health and being as the Leavenworth County Board of County Commissioners.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, next item on there. Consider a motion to approve the cancellation of the current agreements for 235 Street project with KDOT for project 52C-5250-01. Morning, Bill.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the agreement that we have been, the cancellation of the current agreement on 235th Street with KDOT. This will allow us to cancel the current agreement, and then the subsequent action that follows this would be to enter into a new agreement that articulates both the congressionally directed spending and the Kansas cost share funds. It is necessary to enter into this new agreement and cancel the old agreement, so there is a sequential use of funds from two different KDOT funding sources that will allow federal funds to be used first, and then the Kansas cost share funds, and then county funds. If you have any questions about this, I'd be happy to try to answer them. This is hopefully the final step. The way we understand it is once I return the signed agreement to KDOT, they have a copy of the final plans. They will then issue a notice to proceed because those plans have already been reviewed, and we should be able to have this thing advertised fairly immediately. I'm hoping within, if they allow us to go ahead and post it, it will be the next week. If they decide that they're going to post it on their website, then it could be 30 days. But this is the final step to move towards construction. Not an ideal time necessarily to be bidding a roadway project. Usually you'd want to bid this in the fall or winter, not during the busiest construction season. However, we didn't get to dictate the time frame, as you know, all of the different steps we've gone through to get to this point. So, most importantly, the project is moving forward with $2.98 million in additional grant funding.
And that'll get us up to Dempsey Road.
Yes, that's correct.
Any questions? Any more questions for Bill? If not, I'll consider a motion.
Move that we approve the cancellation of the current agreement for the 235th Street project with KDOT for project 52C-5250-01.
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
And I move that we approve an agreement for the 235th Street project 52C-5250-01 with KDOT utilizing the congressionally directed spending and the Kansas cost share grants.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? This ties along with the last one. Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
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 Okay, passes. Very good.
Can I make just a comment?
Sure, go ahead, Mike.
We've been working on that, and Commissioner Culberson probably knows how long people were working on this before, but for the last 6 years on the commission, we've been working on this.
The day I started.
Yeah, but I know the Himes said even going back years and years.
Oh,
and
they've been
years,
asking for it for 30 years.
For 30 years, they've been asking for this.
And actually, about 10, 15, well, now probably 20 years ago, we got the project approved, and KDOT was going to pay 90% of the project, and the current county commission said no. So
that's too
it's
bad.
come a long way.
Nothing gets
It's come
cheaper.
a long way.
Especially on that kind of percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So we're up to Dempsey, and in the current congressional appropriation that has not passed, there's $4 million additional. Is it 6 or 4?
Well, we just re-upped that this last week and asked for $6.5 million in order to finish it to 92 Highway in one construction cycle.
And that's waiting for action.
Yes, they said that would be included as it is already a project. So we're hoping that this fall, if at some point the federal government will stop back their continuing budget and enact a new budget, which would then allow this to be part of the appropriations.
So your federal government is actually helping out Leavenworth County in this way, and we should acknowledge our senators and our congressmen. I know it was I don't know if this dates back to Watkins, but I know LaTurner helped, and I know Moran's office has been centrally involved in it, and I think there's been some involvement from Marshall's office. So this is a direct benefit for Leavenworth County, and it's very much going to be appreciated by the folks.
All righty. Nothing else on that. Move along to consider a motion to approve the listed equipment for Public Works as surplus and sell in Purple Wave. Bill?
Commissioners, today for your consideration is a surplus item list. One is a vehicle that belonged to the clerk's office that will not be replaced. We're going to reduce that fleet size. And then the second is some dump trucks that have already been replaced. We haven't been releasing our dump trucks until after the new ones arrive because they've been taking so long to get here.
Yep.
And then once we do have them, just receive these. It's the agreement you guys had previously signed a few weeks ago. Then we can generally list those on Purple Wave public auction.
We've been pretty successful with those, I believe, since we started doing that. Any questions for Bill? If not, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the listed equipment for Public Works as surplus and sell on Purple Wave.
Second.
Motion and second. Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
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 All righty. Thank you, Bill. Before we go into quarter reports, I'm going to go ahead and get the two folks that are here for thing. I've got I have Steve Conley. Come on up, Steve. Introduce yourself, and you have 5 minutes. Lay it on us.
My name is Steve Conley. I live at 11839 230th Street, Southern Leavenworth County. So about a year ago, I was fortunate to be able to purchase a property from one of my neighbors at some farm ground south, even 2 miles south of my place, pretty much from between the double tracks and the Kansas River Bridge. Since I bought the place, when we originally closed on it, there was an old road called Canary Road that was established there that was able for me to close on the property with the title search company and all that stuff. Since then, my neighbor isn't getting along with me real well, and went to some troubles to go through some paperwork and find out that they vacated. Originally, they vacated all but a quarter mile of the road because there was one dwelling down there back in before the 51 flood. And in 52, that's when they vacated the rest of the road due to, I imagine that's when the flood took out the dwelling, and the township didn't want to keep maintaining the road. But unfortunately, when they did that vacation, they landlocked the piece of property that I purchased. But when like I said, when we closed on the property, we thought we had an accessibility to that property. So my reason for being here was to see if I could get that Canary Road reopened for that first quarter mile to get to my property.
Mark?
Yeah, Commissioners, there is a process and procedure on how that works. I think that the county councilor has explained that to Mr. Conley, and there's state statutes that dictate how landlocked parcels can be reaccessed. So I think there's a process for that and a policy. It's just a matter of following through.
Go ahead, Misty.
Yes, so Mr. Conley and I have had several discussions. There's a state statute where anybody is entitled, if they have landlocked property, they can come and petition the commission to open the road. We did do some work looking back as to what happened in the process, and that road was vacated. They did Reno Township had asked the county back in 1952 December to vacate the west part, and then they came back in February. First they asked December 51, February of 52 they came back and vacated it all. So currently his property is landlocked. There's several options that he can go through. He can petition the county to reopen the road, and it involves a statute we don't use a lot, but that is a possibility and a right that he has. He could also pursue a private action, but it's his option to see which path he wants to go forward with.
Go ahead, Mike.
If we would reopen the road, I understand we currently have some county regulations that impact that. And maybe Mr. Knoll or yourself could outline what those would be.
Well, we'll talk to the beginning part of the process, and then Bill would probably be best for that last bit. Like statutorily to reopen it, that starts with a petition that comes here that describes the point of beginning and end. There's notice requirements. Viewers would have to go out, and it's an elaborate and old process where you go out and view the road and establish it. Damages are paid for the land that you are taking for the roadway. The statute currently provides that the person seeking it and is benefited by the road pays for that process, pays for the damages, and then pays to forever maintain the road. So that is a provision of it.
If I can just jump in real quick. We're having a lot of discussion here, and I'm just not comfortable with it until I see something in front of me as far as the layout and everything else that we're talking about, so we can really get a good idea of what the options are. I know you probably got a picture or something like that, but I have something come up in front of us like this. I tend to make mistakes in a hurry, and so I'd like to have some more information, if possible, on this at a future meeting. Commissioners, what do you think?
I'm fine with that. It's out of the blue for me.
Well, the reason I was asking the question for Bill is I think we have some county regulations that make this perhaps more expensive And I'm wondering if, I'm just wondering what and you may have already consulted an attorney. I wonder if district court would.
Well, I thought about that, but I was hoping that we could go down the road thing. The reason I ask about the road, and I know that the new statutes or something where it has to be a paved road and all that, but that's really, I think, pertaining more to a subdivision or where dwellings will be. I know that this is just farm access for tractors and stuff like that nature. Plus, this is down in the floodplain where you couldn't even build if you wanted to build a house or residence down in there.
And I don't think that's correct. I think you may be misinterpreting that. And
yeah, I can speak to that, Commissioner, if you'd like me to. So we have the 2019 policy on local service roads. And in that local service roads policy, it cites the state statute KSA 68-102 and subsequent parts. All costs to the opening of the road are to be paid by the petitioner for the road. So the current roadway is 60 foot in width. This roadway is going to be 40 foot in width, so you're going to have to acquire the additional 20 feet of right-of-way. The person's petitioning to open a road should be Leavenworth County Department of Planning and Zoning for pertinent regulations and follow the most recent edition of the Leavenworth County Department of Public Works Road Construction and Stormwater Drainage Standards. And so if a person wants to open a road, we have this request. This is not a one-off request. We have these requests quite often, multiple times a year, for access to properties where roads have been ceased to exist or have been vacated. And our response is always the same. Yes, you can do that. You are responsible for all of the costs of that. You have to have the roadway designed because we can't open a road without an engineer creating that plan. It has to be currently per policy designed to meet our roadway construction standards. And the minimum road in our roadway construction standards for residential development is a paved road. We do not have a gravel road standard, and we do not incur the cost per the state statute for this. That is the question.
Yeah, and one thing, let me just be clear. Usually on presentations, we don't discuss it. I just thought it was important to do it because I like to see, that's why I want to kind of hold the questions back we can. I'd really like to see us, unless you guys, I'd really like to see more information come in front of me so I can at least have an idea and the location exactly where it's at, and then have that as far as the, however you want to do it, Mark. So show us what the rules and regulations are in front of us so we can see exactly how that is. I'd encourage folks to try to get that worked out before it comes back to us, but if that's not the case, we need to at least give an answer, or at least let me feel comfortable personally on what we're talking about.
So, Commissioners, the normal process is what Bill just stated. So Mr. Conley would need to make an application. If he doesn't want to follow that process, he needs to make an application for an exception, and that would be what would come back to the board.
That's what I'm talking about.
We can work out the process and the details at a staff level. There would be no need for it to come back to the board. Like Bill said, we handle these kind of requests on a fairly regular basis. But if it was an exception to the current policy, then that would have to take board.
Right. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think you were wanting to just get some clarification on
well, that's
what
where
you need to do.
That's where the staff comes in place. Get with them. We'll see what we can get done. Okay. Thanks for taking your time to come up here. Okay, Dan, come on down, council member.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk today. I'm Dane Clemens. I live 408 Maple Court in Lansing. I'm here as an individual student, not as any other capacity, and I'm speaking only for myself and my viewpoint. There's been a lot of things thrown out about the RHID on social media and the internet. We all know that once it gets out there, it's all true. So I'd like to give you a different viewpoint of my truth. Lansing needs to grow. From 2017 to 2022, Lansing had a total of 73 residential permits requested. 73 over a 6-year period. That's not growth. And some of those are due to fire, replacing a home. We need to grow. I went to the economic development and identified all the housing lots inside the city, the proper city, without going south, of what could do a building subdivision, and asked that they contact the owners, see if they would be interested in an RHID inside where there's already houses. Not a single owner responded positively. The one that I really wanted was the one where the golf course, closed down golf course was. That's 99 acres. It took 2 months even to get the owner to respond to a phone call. They're using it for a sod farm to keep all their other places up. And I am not willing, under any conditions, to do eminent domain. It's just not an option. It has to be the owner doing it, in my view. The River Heights Bends, which is what's under the RHID, that's what we call it, just the River Bend Heights, I'm sorry. Underneath the current tax assessment is worth $966,550. Your portion of the taxes come to $3,743 today. That's what you get in tax for the county. Let's compare what the RHID will give you. On a $300,000 home, which is on the low end of what they're talking about, that's with no changes from the buyers or anything like that, $300,000, you would get $1,126 per house. Now the RHID is 20% of that, so that is $225 per house. There's 417 homes. That would give you just shy of $94,000 from that division. $94,000. So if you vote no, you get $3,700. If you vote yes for the period that you allow the RHID to run, you're getting $94,000 a year, and that's not even including inflation or assessment changes. That's just the base 20%. Y'all were concerned about the school. The school uses a half student per house. So for 417 homes, they're expecting 209 students. Their intermediate school can handle 700, and they've got 350 in there. And I'm not even going to discuss the 392 out-of-district students that they accommodate. So as far as a per seat for the Riverbend Heights, they have a capacity. So let's talk about their money. Yes, they currently have 58 mills going, but 20 mills of that goes to the state. And they combine all the school districts, then divide by the number of school students, and they send back a per student value of $5,611 per student. So if the development is approved, they're going to get $1,172,699 just from that development. The property taxes that they would get, they're just the 38% because the 20% is gone, is $229. So they get an additional $95,000 just in property taxes. I think they have the capacity and the money. I think it's a win for both sides.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Can I ask a question on his numbers?
You have $956,000 that you said came to property taxes, correct? You cited the number at the very beginning of your
Valuation.
Was that right?
$996,000.
96. I wrote 56.
Just shy of $1 million.
And that's the total property tax.
There's 3 parcels in there, it's all combined together. I got on the website. That's houses and agricultural area.
So that's the valuation for that area.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and you're saying that the county's part of that is only $3,000?
$3,743. They pay right at $10,000 total.
So we've experienced this the last couple weeks on several issues, but it's like Mark Twain said, there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. You can do anything with statistics.
That is true.
But this RHID is actually subsidy for the developer from the taxpayer, because that we're abating their taxes. And I think that's what we got to be very careful of. And before I'd ever vote for this, I'd want to double check all these statistics.
Absolutely. And they originally asked for 27,000 was their estimates. That's down to 21,000 because we are going over it. It's not just give me your list of money. It has to be agreed upon that this is what the infrastructure is.
How can I have a developer down the road that doesn't get any benefits for an abatement, and he's building houses right and left in Leavenworth County, and then right down the road you want to come and have a development and you want us to give the abatement of his taxes? How is that fair? And that's one of the questions I'm asking in my mind is, how am I being fair to all the other developers that aren't getting a tax write-off?
How many developers are in Lansing, sir?
I'm talking about Leavenworth County. I'm not talking about specific.
Guys, hold it. Let me step in. Per policy, we're not supposed to be indulging in conversation. This time you come and present your case. Dan, I appreciate you doing that, just like back there. But really, this is information for us to accept. There'll be a time down the line to make all these discussions on that. Is everybody okay with that? Mark?
But our policy doesn't specifically say, it says they cannot expect engagement, but it doesn't say that we cannot ask questions.
As the chair, I recommend that we just don't go down that road until we get that item in front of us. Mark?
I appreciate your recommendation.
I was just going to remind you that this will be an item, assuming that it goes through at the city level, it will be an item for actual discussion and presentations for the Board of County Commissioners in the near future. So that would be a good time to
Thank you,
address
Dan.
all those.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. Okay, moving on. Quarterly reports, got human resources. Come on down.
Hey, Monica.
Morning, Monica.
We have a little over 2 years of data behind us now since we started tracking attrition. So I think we have enough information now to know that we are not only normal, but there's not really any.
What'd you say?
Really,
we're normal?
We're not normal?
What did you say?
We are normal. Define that. You mean compared to other employers? Okay.
You know, Monica,
That doesn't mean good.
Monica, you know it's all of us caught that real quick. So go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I guess normal in the sense that not only do we not see any big ebbs and flows, like there wasn't an event that caused anything. It's very consistent over the last 2 years, but we're also very consistent with our partnering counties. So they are seeing the exact same numbers.
Problems.
Look at it.
Okay. Got it.
We did lose.
It's normal to have these problems.
We did lose some more to retirement in the first quarter, so that made our average tenure go down to 6.8 years. Of the 27 departures we had in the first quarter, 16 were voluntary. I know that you asked for those numbers, so 8 for better pay and benefits, 4 for other personal reasons, and 4 for retirement. During the first quarter, we had Vanessa helped us with our pizza for the Employee Appreciation Day, so I wanted to thank her for that, and we had fun running around all of the locations and giving them their pizza. My team completed all of the Q1 compliance reports for the first quarter, so we have like payroll reports and end of year and EEO 1 and 4 reports that come in. So all of those have been completed and submitted. Our safety metrics for the quarter, we have had 10 workers' comp claims so far in the first quarter, and our quarterly department head meeting that we had. One of the topics that Mark talked about with all of our department heads was for us to get involved and know our issues and focus on preventative safety so that we can make sure that we are providing a safe environment for our employees to work. And focus more on that proactive rather than reactive. So we can try to keep those incidents down. Some upcoming items for this next few months is we will be going over our benefits overview. It's that time again where we sit down and go over all the options, budgets, and pay plans need to be created. Our safety walkthrough from CARET is next Thursday on April 24th, where they walk through all of our locations. Our employee barbecue for the summer is set for June 5th. And Council on Aging offered CPR and AED training in the month of April, and so my team took advantage of that as well. So we are trained in our office.
All right. Any comments or questions? Monica?
With my current exposure to the HR department, I've been extremely impressed by the leadership and the staff, so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. She was a great hire. Mike?
On the 10 workers' comp claims, how substantial were those, or what level?
Minimal. Honestly, most of those are poison ivy right now, first quarter.
Where are we growing poison ivy? We have some growing around the building?
Yeah, well, our noxious weed department is out there battling the new growth for spring. So.
Well, and some people just breathe it from a mile away and they get it. So,
that is true.
I have a dog.
Our higher level. So we do have things in place out there in Bill's department, preventative measures of things they can spray on them, wear long sleeves, do what they can to minimize exposure.
Good.
Shower with Dawn after they get home.
Yeah. So they were minimal. Nothing big.
Okay.
A few tree branches also fell on someone, but not anything that was major.
So when we onboard somebody, do we have do they work through modules, or what's the onboarding process with HR?
With us, we have about a 1 hour presentation where we just go over benefits and the handbook and what's available to them, all of their resources, and then after that, their training one-on-one is specific to that department head.
Okay.
Very good. We've got a lot of words. That's a good report. Any other questions, comments? If not, we thank you.
For normal.
For normal. Yeah. I haven't heard that too much lately, so I got my attention there. Thank you, Mike.
He's a normal chairman.
Yeah. That's the nicest thing I've ever told Mike. Okay, moving right along. I'm out of control here. Adult and Juvenile Community Corrections, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Pardon my appearance. My poison ivy's from home, so no worries come.
You haven't turned in a report on that one.
This is my own doing. Currently, we have 227 individuals on supervision for the adult side of community corrections. 84 of those individuals are inactive and on warrant status. 143 of them are part of our active daily reporting population. We have 32 youth probation clients, which might not seem like a lot to anybody, but that number has actually doubled in the last 4.5 years. We used to average 12 to 16 kids at any given time on probation, and just in this past quarter, which is our third quarter, since we run on the July to June schedule for our KDOC grants, it doubled. So I think you're going to see some trends in all of our numbers doubling for our juvenile services. As a result, we had 25 youth that we served in our juvenile intake and assessment services in the third quarter. 14 of them were youthful offenders. The other 11 were children in need of care. We served 23 in our Youth Justice Resource Center programs. 89 individuals have been served in that program year to date. Over this past quarter, we had 35 adult offenders close out on probation. 12 of them were successful, which is one of our higher numbers that we've seen in the last 4 years. So we're seeing more people do better, and I think that that's a direct impact as a result of the cognitive programs that we're offering on site. And I also believe RIDE LD has really helped our individuals become more successful getting to mental health and treatment and getting them to our office. We had 6 of our juvenile cases close out in the third quarter, but again, we are more successful than unsuccessful, with 4 successful and 2 unsuccessful. In this last quarter, we did have one of our positions vacated. They left on March 25th for a position at the Guidance Center, continuing to serve youth in the community. And otherwise, in the third quarter of my grant season, so did lots of grants. We had 3 of our operational grants that you all approved submitted. One of our opiate grants was actually extended until May. I did the end of year report and they said, y'all still have some money, you want an extension? So I said, yeah. So they extended us to let us continue utilizing those funds, spend them all up. And otherwise, it's kind of business as usual. We're trying to keep people in the community and get them interested in doing what they're supposed to be doing instead of going to prison.
It's a good thing.
Good thing, yeah.
Okay. Okay, any comments or questions?
A couple questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, on your inactive warrants on adults, the 84, have a lot of those fled Leavenworth County, or are they still in Leavenworth County, or what? Do we know anything about?
Some of our inactive clients are people who are in custody in other states, or they're in KDOC custody on other cases from other counties. So a lot of them are just incarcerated. As you know, community corrections is the highest level of supervision, so we often get habitual violators.
That makes sense. Children in need of care, you had the placements. Are they being placed with families? I know that there's been in the media a lot of issues with that kind of thing. Some of these kids having to be put in office buildings and these kind of things. Is that still an issue?
Not always. Sometimes. I think our local issue is that we have a lot of youth whose families are in the militaries, so the rest of their families aren't around here. So there isn't other local relatives to call. Additionally, some of the issues that we see with children in need of care are familial issues like addiction and mental health. So oftentimes other family members children can't be released to those individuals because maybe they have warrants, or they're also have had children terminated from their custody, or for one reason or another maybe they don't have a warrant, but they're afraid to come up and start engaging with the justice system. And I use this term loosely because juvenile intake, while it is provided by community corrections, other communities don't offer it with community corrections. They have their own juvenile programs, and so there's less of a stigma of we're a part of this system. And a lot of adults who have lost custody of family members or who are engaged in addiction or other issues might not feel comfortable coming to see us.
Are they placed in Leavenworth County typically, or can they be farmed out all across the state?
Unfortunately, if we can't find a family member, most of them were driven to Andover, Kansas, down by Wichita.
I know where that is. It's a long ways.
We've had this issue. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We've had this issue for 4 years. I know that when we had the pastor's breakfast, people signed up and we reached out, but a lot of those, when you understand the level of commitment that you're making to some of these kids, I think people underestimate that. I also think that's why there's a lack of individuals and households who are willing to provide those respite services.
And are you you're actively building a list of those folks, people that are interested in that?
People who are interested and who also get cleared by DCF, yes.
So if they're interested, they contact you, and then you work them through the process of what they need to do to get qualified?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
What's the time limit of getting them approved through DCF? Is there a lag time?
I don't know if there's a statute or a specific time frame, but the statute for us is they can only be with us for up to 3 3 business days. That means in my community corrections building over there, 3 business days. So if we get a kid on a Friday night and it's President's Day weekend, then it's 3 business days from Tuesday at 8 a.m. So these kids can stay for a while in our building, and that's unfortunate. It costs us a lot of money in overtime, but most of the time we can just drive them to Andover, which we also don't like to do because then that's also a traumatic experience for these youth as well. Because then, maybe going to school was a safe place for them, and now they can't see that one adult, their teacher or their friends, and now, that also has ripple effects and can further displace them in education. It creates a lot of emotional issues. So.
How much input do you guys actually have in finding the responsible adult?
We actively try to find them ourselves, and then if an aunt is willing to come and get someone, we pass their information off to DCF, who will run checks, and then they will clear them, and then we'll call aunt back and say, hey, if you can come in, we just need your license and for you to sign a document, and then from there, DCF reaches out and meets with them and tries to get, a permanent solution.
Do you have any contact with Andover after these kids are dropped off there?
Once kids are out of juvenile intake, they're the responsibility of DCF and Cornerstones of Care or KDC.
Thank you.
Good question.
And that's sometimes an issue at Andover because you're mixed in with a population that could be responsible for a lot of different.
Right. Some youth are in out-of-home placement because they're crossover youth, which means they're juvenile delinquents, and they were also a part of the welfare system for could be abuse, neglect, you name it. So yes, there is a risk some of these youth who are in the welfare system and are victims of abuse and neglect can go to group homes where they're exposed to crossover youth who are juvenile delinquents and also victims.
So if families are watching this and they're interested in perhaps participating in that respite system or being on the list and getting qualified, they can contact you?
Yes. And if ever, they know of their own, a youth in their family that is comes into contact with us, they can always reach out. I mean, typically we'll reach out. The youth will give us the name of someone that cares and, they would feel safe with, and we'll call them and see if they're interested in taking them. So.
Okay, good. Anything else? Good question. I appreciate the information. Also, pass it on. This service is very valuable. This is something that y'all do that really makes a difference in people's lives. So I appreciate we got you at the lead on that. Anything? If there's nothing else, then we'll move along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Building and grounds. Aaron?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So, starting at the bottom, sewer districts, we had a couple of ground pumps at Pinecrest, street replaced, one repaired. Ginger Creek, we had the lift stations cleaned. Noxious weeds annually helps us by putting sonar in the lagoons, which keeps the duckweed and the other weeds down so that all of the processes can happen correctly. Since this is first quarter one, I'd like to thank my guys for the snow removal, as this last winter was
something else.
especially difficult on staff. The annex, we had a sprinkler riser freeze, which we replaced. The Justice Center, we repaired and replaced some VAV valves that we had in some judges' areas, 2 air handler motors, and belt replacements. Cushing, we had some roof leaks in our tenant space on 3rd floor that we have since had repaired so that way we don't have any issues there. Again, multi-stack chiller, we repaired that one so that we're off of the 1956 chiller, using it as a backup. We had the heat exchanger replaced in that one, and when we switch over in the next 20 to 30 days Typically, we switch over because that's a two-pipe system. Once we start seeing 58 to 60 in the evenings, we start switching over because the daytime temperatures will normally see 75, 80. We don't want to freeze people out in Cushing, so it's either heat or cool, and it's a balancing act when we're in the temperature situations that we are currently in. EMS stations we had little trouble with. Health department, we replaced rooftop number 13 on that facility. Last week we had rooftop number 4 have a blower go out on it, so that one was replaced as well. Transfer station, we had a contractor complete the generator installation, and the co-op set propane tanks so that facility will run no matter what, even without power. That was a completed item. And all the way up to the courthouse, phase 1, the roof replacement is complete, minus the skylight. The skylight looks to be delivered in June. We will have inspections later today on the roof from the manufacturer to receive our warranty on that. Trainer is preparing documents for phase 2, which is the stonework and metal work. We did a little bit of painting in the BOCC offices. We had our generator downstairs. We had to replace the control module and subsequently after that the starter for it so that we don't have any issues here with that. And we started out of our allocated funds for annually carpet replacement in the basement as circa 2004 is starting to be removed. First floor offices had been replaced previously. This year we started the basement. Next year, if allocated funds are available again, I'll start on the third floor and start removing carpet and replacing with the standardized carpet that we replaced for all of the facilities so that they all match so that we can keep a stock of one rather than 3 different colors. Questions, comments, concerns?
Questions, comments, anybody? Aaron, thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging my stuff in my office. It's starting to...
The guys are in at 6:30, and Mark let me know, so we made sure it was done and ready for you.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay.
See, we can be easy on you.
Bill, good morning again.
Morning, Commissioner. We'll be really quick today.
Yeah.
It's a pretty thick.
Considerate of your time.
Yeah, I've heard that before, but go ahead anyway.
We'll start here. So, under first quarter road and bridge, we always start off with road and bridge. They did install 35 culverts, hauled 6,700 tons of gravel. That is less than last year. We didn't quite have the same. We had, obviously, every spring we have the thaw. This year wasn't quite as substantial as last year. Last year stayed frozen for quite a while. I believe we hauled considerably more first quarter of last year than we have this year. Part of that is we used some of that trap rock savings last year and some of our budgeting to try to get screened rock. And so we really concentrated on hauling screened rock instead of 83. Without those fines in it, it's a lot cleaner. A lot further, and so that is beneficial, but the cost is off about twice as much. So you've got to offset that what funds you have available with that higher quality gravel in order to use it in the best case possible can. Every spring, every first quarter, we do receive additional salt. We always have a lot of salt on order all throughout the winter, but it kind of trickles in. We get to where we're nearly out. Seems like every year before they start to show up with some punishment. But we did haul 1,700 tons in, and we'll continue to get salt through the second quarter in order to completely fill all of our stockpiles of salt for next winter, all through the summer until we finally reach the point where they haul anymore. We completed $116,000 worth of maintenance for the bridge, and subsequently in other departments, local service, cautious week, there's some substantial repairs that will be completed. We'll talk about personnel just a little bit. Currently, the road and bridge department is full. It always depends on what week. It seems like we write these reports every quarter. whether the road and bridge department is full. Continued turnover within the department at entry-level positions that is I would consider very high. We are a registered training facility for CDLs through the Federal Highway Department, and oftentimes you'll get a person through their training, and then subsequently they are immediately eligible for higher paying jobs. And so they often don't stick around all that long.
Yeah.
So we go through a very high percentage of folks that once they've gotten some of that driving experience in, we do lose those employees. But currently we are fully staffed. We always seem to get applicants, but it is a major advantage to those folks. Previously, for the new commissioners, if you aren't aware, you used to be able to quite a bit more easily get a CDL, and now you have to go to a registered training facility to get that. So we are registered to train, but if a person doesn't go to an employer that is a registered training facility to get a CDL, they generally have to go to some sort of vocational training facility and pay $3,000 to $6,000 depending on the length of the program in order to get that training. And they're also not being paid by an employer while they're doing that because it is schooling, and so therefore it is very advantageous for folks that come to work for the county. It's just retaining those employees becomes an issue. We, over the last quarter, workers' comp claims that were mentioned earlier, and a lot of the poison ivy limbs can be attributed to the removal of the trees on Tominoxie Road and 235th Street because of the northern long-eared bat situation. April 1st deadline for those trees. So Tominoxie Road specifically had 2 fiber lines, one on each side of the road, and a phone line that we could not just bulldoze those trees out. And so we cut way more trees this year than we normally would have by a factor of 10 probably. Generally we would go cut whole swaths of trees out like that. And so the guys who get this poison ivy, it wasn't leaning out, and cut poison ivy off the tree and get into that sap, and we're going to be covered with poison ivy. And so we had a lot of poison ivy, some limb accidents because of those trees. But they did a very good job. There was no serious injuries or any real injuries to speak of that were caused any employees to leave work for a period of time. So they did a very good job of that substantial tree removal project. Just from a personnel perspective, and I can touch on this, move on from road and bridge to GIS. The GIS department currently has 4 staff members. As in during the first quarter, we did lose both GIS technician and GIS analyst to higher paying jobs and opportunities elsewhere that Monica referenced earlier. One of those positions, the tech position, has been filled. We are still interviewing folks and receiving applications for the analyst position. And so we are hopeful that we can be fully staffed in the coming weeks or maybe a month. But we've had a very high turnover in that analyst position during my tenure. So hopefully we can find an applicant that gets quality years out of it. We do have an IOC position that is listed here as vacant, but it has been filled. That is generally we have a internet on call person come in during the summer, a student, college student, or maybe a teacher that come in, work in the summer, and sell some of the noxious weed chemicals. The sales are picking up in noxious weed this time of year, and as we move into May, folks are getting out of school. Actually, this person's going to come in and work over the summer and do a lot of chemical stores. Our budgets are operating at standard levels that you've seen in past years. Actually, I believe we're a little bit down because we didn't haul quite as much rock as we had in previous years. And some of that rock that we did haul was hauled from stockpiles of the Tominoxie quarry that would have been paid for at the time of their crushing, and so would be paid for out of 20. We'll be mowing as soon as grass starts to get up any higher. Here we're cutting all the trees, but as intersections and a single pass at the edge of the road. We try to get all of the paved roads and primary routes first, but we can't ever seem to get caught up with the 1,700 miles of ditches. Mowing is a major concern since we have lost the waiver that was available from the Lansing Penitentiary and wasn't replaced. So we lost that opportunity. I think we had probably a dozen or more guys out every single day from the Lansing Penitentiary. And so currently we have 2 members. The survey department continues to work on the High Prairie Township. We are doing the township surveys. High Prairie Township, if you look at the road and bridge map, has a substantial number of dead-end roads. And if you look at the section layout over the top of the road layout, it has a ton of hiking. And so our survey technician has been doing a ton of hiking, getting back into those corners, and working through that township to complete that. And our county surveyor, he continues to review. He completed 34 plat reviews and 17 surveys. And so every survey that is recorded, whether it's a plat, a subdivision, or boundary adjustment within a city or in the county that gets recorded in the Register of Deeds, he does complete the reviews for all of those. Fleet management continues to coordinate delivery of all the vehicles and equipment in the county and work on insurance claims. You can see here the list of different pieces of equipment we're recently working on and that have been delivered and ordered. And he also works with a technician out in the shop, Rico, and they maintain 143 GPS units and 138 cameras that we check on multiple times a week in order to make sure they're all functioning, because they do often have glitches and different issues. And we have to have separate pieces of equipment working all within the same website. Our projects are ongoing within Road and Bridge, Public Works. So Fairmount Road is closed currently. The contractor is working out there, and that project is continuing as scheduled. Tonganoxie Road, 2 projects there for the KDOT bid. Mexico, a local contractor, was the low bidder of the 4 bids. Board approved the authority to award, and that was provided to KDOT. KDOT issues the notice to proceed. The anticipated start date of that project is approximately May 15th. That should be completed around October. Emergency services will still have access to Tonganoxie Road, but the road will be hard closure for all through traffic with a posted detour. This road does have a paved road detour, so unlike some other projects that we've had issues with, or calls from the public regarding not posting a detour because it would direct people into gravel, this project has a posted road, paved road detour from Dempsey over to 250th Street. The County Route 30 project, you guys just approved the agreements today. Hopefully it will bid in the next month, which means it will probably start approximately 75 to 90 days. The K-19 is the bridge that we had to reject the bids on because the one bid we received was $325,000 high. That bridge is currently being re-advertised and is available on Drexel. And we have moved the construction window from October to March, a very 5-month, 6-month window, and provided the contractors that notice. We're hopeful to get additional bids. The ARPA box culvert replacements, we are still working with Mega KC. They had a substantial settling of the dirt work around the box culverts because it was backfilled in sub-zero weather, so they couldn't get all the compaction efforts completed above the box because of that. The temperatures were occurring, so yesterday and today they've been back out there working, bringing additional fill, and working towards a final closure of that project, which will hold 3% retainage for seeding. We're currently only holding the seeding retainage on the other 3 contracted box culverts at Collins Construction, and honestly, they're really close to having the necessary grass growth. Probably just need to get out there and do an inspection and release the retainage. Bridge inspections have been filed electronically and been received by the county. Regional Transportation Improvement Horn. They're going to try to have kickoff meetings. They announced that. Kinder Horn is going to be the contractor for the design with KDOT on that project. We get a lot of questions about that. We do not have a copy of any routes that are proposed. There will be public meetings where people are able to provide input, and those routes will be shown at that time. We submitted an HRRR, high-risk rural roads application, and were notified just this last week that we were not successful in that application. Obviously, we will continue to apply for those grants. I did look at the found it on the WIBW website, referenced the governor's announcement for those grants. It appeared that it kind of goes back and forth based on population and geographic distribution of projects. It appears that they concentrated on this round of funding with the geographic distribution of projects all throughout the state. There was a lot of projects in central and western Kansas. Sometimes they'll focus more on population densities. But obviously, there's a lot of locations, I'm sure, in the state of Kansas where we have serious fatality deaths. We'll continue to work on that. The Office of Bridge Grant Notice is out. We will be applying for a bridge replacement project on that. Also, the Cape Lip project is out, which is going to have old road bridges funded under. Those bridges are set to be completed in August. Until those bridges are under construction, the likelihood of another grant is probably not great, but that's not going to stop us from trying. And then the final version of the Safe Streets for All study is available on the county website. And I can provide a copy to any commissioners that would like a paper copy of that study. We received a notice of funding opportunity from the Federal Highway Department. We have about 5 weeks to get our letters from various elected officials and put together an application for that project, and we are going to apply for a large project. They want projects in that $10 to $12 million range from what it seems like they've had funded in the past. So we only have 2 cycles unless the current administration extends this program under the previous administration's bill funding. There was only a certain number of cycles funded, so we need to try to take advantage of that if we can for construction dollars. They have removed some of the DEI requirements from the previous administration, I believe, which should help our scoring on our projects. That's all.
Questions on that part? Go ahead, Mike.
What are the large projects you're going to apply for?
We're going to apply for projects along 158th and Golden Road south of 832. That is the highest accident rate location. We're going to apply for projects along County Route 1 south of K32 and Eudora. Both of those routes, we are going to try to use the information provided from the Panasonic plant, the K10 study, and the investment that the state of Kansas has had in that area with our high accident rate locations also coinciding with those areas.
And then the last question I have, which I wrote it down over here, have you personally, or have you had it reported to you by any employee in your department, ever seen or had reported to you that there has been in Leavenworth County a northern long-eared bat?
Oh, I haven't received any reports of people seeing it, but I've also not done a wildlife study, so.
I just wanted to know if when our folks were out working, have you had anybody report that they personally have seen one?
Well, what was it, Mike?
A northern long-eared bat.
Well, okay. Because we cut down all of the trees before April 1st, and they migrate here to roost, we wouldn't have seen any during the tree cutting.
So the answer is no.
The answer, I don't know of anybody who I'm just actually asking you to see.
I don't know of anybody that's seen one, but if anybody knows of anybody that's seen
I
one.
personally, if I see a bat, I don't touch bats. So.
You know about the $1 million curve on 20th Street, right? The red belly snake.
Oh yeah, I've heard of. I've actually seen the sign.
Yeah, there's a sign,
Yeah.
but nobody ever seen
Yeah.
one. But they spent an extra $1 million to go around it.
And somebody in some office in Washington D.C.
just in case
had a chart and looked at the chart and oh my gosh, but they're not out in flyover country to see the reality.
Jeff, that's put a lot of projects over the years and
just in case
slowed them down on not just that, but other things like birds.
Similar situation.
Yeah, exactly. I dealt with that in Lansing.
Eagles. Yeah.
Okay.
Similar situation.
Now we got that cleared up. Mike, anything else on that?
That's it.
Okay. Anybody else on this one? Okay, we'll move along to Jan's report. Go ahead, Bill.
That's my report.
That's it.
You already did that too?
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, I'm
What was
going
I?
to ask some questions.
But
I just don't. I'm not going to ask you anything. I'm kind of pleased with you. I'll be honest with you. Any other questions?
Well, I just want to brag on him, the amount of grants that we have obtained for Leavenworth County for road projects.
since we hired Bill,
Yeah, it's fantastic, and you are appreciated. I hope you feel appreciated.
Yeah, I do.
You let us know if you don't.
All right.
We'll
Stop by and have a cup of coffee.
yeah, we'll have a cup of coffee, or we'll send you something.
We'll make sure Monica can
Pizza. This is
pizza.
not here.
That's what I already said. We'll do the pizza right again. Thank you, Bill. Okay, we're down to any comments from the county commissioners. Mike, do you have anything else?
I went to the KCATA Board Finance Committee meeting, and they are continuing to work on their. They've spent down their reserves last year, and now they're down to where they don't have enough reserves for their own policy.
Yeah.
So we're revising the policy to allow them to have less reserves for a short time, and also continuing the progress towards implementing fares again for the buses in Kansas City. By giving up fares, it amounts to around $15 million that they gave up. And that doesn't sound like maybe a lot for overall picture of running a bus system, but when you take that $15 million out, that's a big hole.
Yeah.
And only $10 million of that is actual fares. $5 million of that is they had contracts with organizations and businesses such as colleges and hospitals and big organizations where there's lots of employees, and those organizations would pay for bus passes. So when you have free fares, you lose all that revenue as well. So that's all in the process of being reinstated, and hopefully so far we've been able to preserve the bus routes. But they continuously at these meetings talk about a regional transit. KCATA is actually formed by an act of the legislatures in Kansas and in Missouri, and then a federal act overlaid that. And what we've stated to them is, when you get no services, to come and ask folks in Leavenworth County to pay, and you're getting no services. So anyway, that's all being looked at. And there's one last piece is the KCATA has an economic development arm, and they have some ability to, when we talk about these RHIDs, they have ability to abate property taxes, and their abatement term is even longer. It's like 50 years, up to 50 years. So it's a possibility that we can use the KCATA economic development arm even if we're not in the bus system, but maybe Leavenworth County can benefit from some of those economic development pieces. So we're looking at that, and so that was a good meeting. Went to the LCDC annual meeting Friday, and George from Tonganoxie spoke.
You're down there, Mike. Yeah.
And it was at LEB's, a nice event venue. He reported on the housing and industrial development in Tonganoxie and the Hills Pet Nutrition, which is the largest private industrial development in the history of Leavenworth County. And in 8 years, we will see tremendous. They did abate the taxes for 8 years, but in 8 years from now, it's been going now for 2. We will see a they will probably become one of the largest, if not the largest, property taxpayers.
Yeah, they got 8.5 years. They will be one of the largest ones.
And then expansion of Unilock is going on. And then they had an ingredient manufacturer, and I can't remember the initials of his company, that also spoke. And that's all.
That's good. I heard about some of that. Mike, you're on the right committee for those budget woes that you got put on, because those are really have to be adjusted. Only thing I have is our 10 to Port Authority. It was a good meeting yesterday, even though our internet service out there at the buildings, it kept going on. I kept seeing Willie's face, and then he disappeared. I kept saying Willie's face. So I didn't have
it's like magic.
It was. So I finally got his number, so now I can call him. But they're having issues out there, so they couldn't zoom in. But it was enough to do with the meeting. Of course, Dan was there too. That's all I have. Mr. Dove, you know?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Jeff?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Aye.
Good meeting. Thank you.